So this is Main Street right here in the central part of Crowley. Like I said, I worked at this McDonald's for about 2 hours because the trainer never showed up. And I had to get my food handler license, and trainer never showed up, so I was there for 2 hours wiping tables, and then I left. And then I did get a bank account here after working at Tony's Italian restaurant, which is now a donut shop. Down this way. This was not here, this circle, or it says Roberts. I don't think that there was a circle there. There might have been, but I don't remember it. This was not here either, called Boo Ray's. Looks like a New Orleans style restaurant. That was not there either. And these sidewalks were not around either. Like there was no sidewalks. It was more way run down. It actually looks pretty nice now. Fastaco, which we may go by and get a Fast Taco, was here, and there was a Fast Taco that was outside of the place. I don't remember it being here, but it's a big thing in Crowley and in Johnson County, Fast Taco. It's really good. It's kind of like a little mini tacos. This place was there, that Crowley tire place, but it was also a mechanic shop too. They worked on my neon. I had a little neon. We'll go by the first place because Tony's is not there. This railroad track was still there, so it's the same railroad track as before. And I did work for Film Pack when I met Sarah. So I met Sarah, she was my neighbor, and I think it was the day after I asked her to marry me, they let me go. So I asked her hand in marriage. The next day, they laid me off. But I found a job working for Direct Energy, door-to-door sales. This is where I worked. My boss was an alcoholic. He used to pull up about right here. Actually, I'll just do kind of what he'd pull up right here, and he'd gurgle down a Budweiser before work. I'd be over there walking in because I didn't have a car at the time when I landed here. I don't even think I had my bike. Didn't have a bike or a car, but I was able to walk to work from where I lived, and that's Film Pack. And they deal in plastics. They make plastics. Mostly for like Winn-Dixie bags. If you remember Winn-Dixie, like grocery bags. They did Walmart grocery bag. They'd print them, and they would, they would lay the film out and print the logo, the Walmart logo on the grocery bag. They did a lot of it. A lot. Let's see right here. One time I was pulled over. These guys are crazy. I was pulled over by the police one time for not stopping completely at one of these little areas right here. Not right there, but one in the street. It was like a driveway. And you're supposed to stop before you leave a driveway and go onto the main road. And I don't remember if it was a warning or not, but I was detained, I don't know, several times, and I was taken to JPS. I was on a full dose of lithium and a full dose of Zoloft when I lived here, so it was kind of dreamlike living here. I did write quite a bit, and I did play a PS2. I got my PS3 later, but I had a PS2, and I lived with Sarah. I'll show you where Sarah and I met, and I've got a lot of stories. There was a guy from the Army. He was Special Intelligence Demolition. There was 2 Army guys that lived here. One was Special Intelligence, and he was pretty crazy. And then a drunk Johnny lived on the other side. I had to help him break into his place one time because he'd locked his car keys. And a fireman lived there. He was a little fat guy, fireman. And there was a guy from Africa that lived right there. He had an African accent. And I lived in number 1. And Sarah lived on the other side, because these are basically connected on both sides. Sarah lived on the other side of 1. She let me come over all the time. We met at that mailbox right there. The mailbox right there. That's where we met. That's where I met my first wife, at that mailbox. And we were married for almost 6 years. We didn't have any kids, but we had a lot of cats. And anyway, I can't remember the guy's name that owned that property. I cannot think of the other guy that helped run it. He had an interesting name, one of those names you never forget, but I forgot his name. He also ran this property here, and we moved into this property when we got married. On the other side, it was a little like townhomes, and that's whenever I was a big time gamer, PS2, and I did door-to-door sales for Direct Energy, and then eventually I got a job working with warranties for electronics, and I did that for about 4 years. I was working at a cubicle, like it was a telemarketing kind of thing, and I did write when I lived here. So I wrote a few short stories. I wrote one called Blind Crossing. That one made it on Fiction Press. I don't think I had an alias like Ash Cole. One time, I guess I was acting funny, and Sarah called the police, and they brought me out here and frisked me, or one of them did. And then we lived right there. That was my writing room right there. You could see the window right there. Place is still there too. It's a pretty cool place. Little townhome. I used to park my Neon right here, and I also had this red Ford that I ended up selling. That was our bedroom window right there. Anyway, so yeah, the cop frisked me and brought me the Crowley police station, where he had me handcuffed and ate a salad in front of me. I guess he was waiting to bring me in. So I was handcuffed in the station, sitting at a chair, and he pulled out a salad and ate a salad in front of me, which I thought was kind of rude. Then he drove me to JPS and dropped me off, and had a phone call with his girlfriend on the phone, a cell phone. I don't know if he's still a cop. Anyway, I did substitute teach while I was here too. I substitute taught Crowley, and I was on probably about 300 milligrams of Zoloft and fell asleep. And the principal, or one of the main guys that was there, caught me falling asleep, and then I was let go. I was also pulled over by a cop way down over there. I'll tell you about that story later. But I did a roll through a stop light. I'm sorry, stop sign. It was a stop sign. And since my license, I think my license was expired, or was it my insurance? I don't think it was my insurance. No, it was my license was expired, so I was no longer allowed to drive. But my insurance was still up to date, but it still wasn't good enough. So I had to have my wife pick me up, and then the cop left, and then she drove me back to the car, and I just drove it back, to a block. I was a block away. Drove it back to my place and dropped the car off and got the license, renewed and all that stuff. And it was just a young punk cop that was giving me trouble. They patrolled heavily. We had a little bit of a crime problem when I lived here in 2004, 2005. It doesn't seem like it's that bad anymore. I don't know. These are really nice roads, though. That's where Tony's was. I worked there. It's a donut place now. And they used to pay you under the table some of the money. They'd actually hand you the money under the table. It was pretty funny. They'd write you checks, too, and stuff like that. They were just old school Italian. Tony's is still around. There's still one in Bedford. They just had one out here for a while. I worked with a lady one time. She went to prison for being pulled over 3 times for D.W.C. She's an older lady. I don't know how long she went in for, though. There's a fajita house. That must be new. On the Fastaco, because I'm budgeting right now, I'm probably not going to be able to go and get one. But it's a little like Taco Bell. I'll just put it that way. I may come back and do a Fastaco vlog. Well, okay. This is one time. They've got really good burritos. Their burritos are actually... I was going to say no to it. And plus, I've been watching my fast food intake. They got a little drive-through. There's a little graveyard back here. I forgot all about that, too. There was a little graveyard back behind where we lived. I might go in. I don't know. I haven't been out here in forever. Look at that line. Fastaco always has this horribly long line. And the idea is that they do fast tacos. So I guess we're going to wait. It's 2:13 though. It's not even lunchtime. I'm just gonna do one item, one taco, and maybe like some taco sauce or stuff like that. I don't really see them anywhere though. They're a small chain. Fastaco's not a large chain at all. It's a fairly small chain, you know. I've never seen them outside of Crowley or Johnson County. But I don't know if they'll go nationwide. I'll vlog it. All right. So they do have value meals. You get one taco, burrito, tostada for $7.29. You can get 2 burritos and a tostada for $6.99. The 3-1 is 2 tacos and 1 tostada, which is $6.99. Or you can just go with like a soft taco, 1 burrito, and nachos for $9.99. I'm looking. There's a crispy chicken taco for $2.99. I don't remember them being this. They must have updated their menu. You can do a regular just taco for $3.29. I'm kind of looking. There's the fast taco, which is $4.29 right there. My goodness. 13-pack is $27.99. Trying to see if, oh yeah, they have a taco burger right here for $5.99. Snack pack. Do a full order or a quarter order of fajitas for $12.99. Then they do breakfast. They have egg sausage, potatoes, egg, bean, and cheese. Oh, here they are. Here's the burritos down here. That's what I was looking at. They got a $2.19 burrito. Just a bean burrito.
What can I get for you?
Looks like we're gonna go with the bean burrito. Can y'all put sauce on that?
Yes, we have chili sauce on it.
Just chili sauce? Okay. And that's all. That'll be all for now.
All right, $2.37 window. All
right, thanks. $2.37 for 1 bean burrito. Back in the day, they were like $1. You get a $1 bean burrito. It looks very, very different. Used to be kind of like a taco shop. Yeah, I asked her. She said they do a major remodeling, or they did a major remodeling. I'm gonna go over to 7-Eleven and get a drink. It's a little bit cheaper. But gotta mix some ideals here, so I don't want to mix the other thing. But here it is. They still use the old school, just regular bag. That's what they used to use. It's like a little brown bag. But it looks like it's a bigger burrito. It's $2.37 for just like they used to have these like little tiny burritos and they'd be like $1. But I don't know. There's a major remodeling for Fastaco. It does look different though. It's like they stepped up the game a little bit. You know, the structure of everything outside of it. This in Crowley used to be an old school like ghetto gas station. You could buy like go-karts here. If you wanted like a little motor go-kart. And then, you know, like every type of head shop item. Now it's just a 7-Eleven, but they sell like bongs and stuff like that. Craziness. She couldn't verify if film pack was open or not. It could be an empty factory. Oh, cool. So this is what about the size of the burrito. It comes with this little green stuff. I asked for mild. I guess, yeah, it smells and looks exactly like Fastaco, only it's $2.37 now for bean burrito. You want to get the burritos. This is a new like fancy sauce, medium. Or I think it's medium. They do have a dang good burrito. It tastes kind of like a street burrito. It kind of leaks out the back of it. They never fixed that problem. They said they redesigned the burrito, but it still leaks. The back of it still leaks. It's so good though. It's like a green sauce. These used to be $1, but it went up to $2.37. It's pretty good. Same taste as the original Fastaco back in 2004 when I first came across Fastaco. They're in Johnson and in Bedford. They have a location in Bedford that's remodeling. That's the back side of it. And the alarm went off. Yay, alarm! The alarm is as if someone comes up and slaps the camera out of my hand, which has been done. Could you imagine if Francis Ford Coppola was filming The Godfather and someone slapped the camera out of his hands? Happened to me. But it's never happened to Martin Scorsese or Francis Ford Coppola or David Lynch. No one slaps their camera out of their hands. But could you imagine if that happened? Anyway, the alarm went off. I forgot about the alarm. Anyway, it was a good burrito, though. It's a very, very good burrito. Very good burrito. So this is a pretty good hospital. My sister worked there. It's Texas Health Hughley. It's the hospital that you see whenever you're leaving Crowley, which we're leaving Crowley right now. And I left Crowley back in 2007. And only went back a few times. And then when Sarah and I got divorced, I never really went back. My sister lived there for a while, and then she ended up moving away. But that's Hughley, Texas Hughley. And my doctor, Dr. Horsley, she was a great doctor, probably one of the best doctors I've ever had. She worked there, and her husband was in the plastic surgery business. But she was a Seventh-day Adventist, and she would pray with you, and give you medicines and all kinds of stuff. And I was on a full dose of Zoloft and a full dose of lithium. They're actually litho tabs. I took them for about I don't know, 6 years. Also smoked a pack of Camel Silvers a day usually. Sometimes a half a pack and sometimes a full pack. And then I switched over to American Spirits, which I enjoyed American Spirits way more. And that was also the choice of David Lynch's cigarette too. David Lynch would smoke American Spirits. American Spirits, blue pack or yellow pack. And then I eventually quit smoking. I haven't smoked in a decade. Haven't smoked a cigarette in more than 10 years. Linda smokes, but she's cutting back. And then there's a cross right here. And then she drinks though, but she's getting better. I don't know. I like Fastaco better than Taco Bell. But they're only mostly in Crowley. They are also Johnson County. They are in Burleson. So it's a small chain. You'd have to come out to Crowley or Johnson County or Burleson to even get a hold of a Fastaco. And it's good. It's good. The burritos are very good. I don't know a whole lot about their tacos. They used to be smaller. There are smaller tacos, but she said they redesigned the entire business. So they remodeled the way the business looks. It's fancier. The tacos are a little more expensive. And they serve nachos, too. So we're going to head back. And, all right. Okay, so I've got positive things to say about The Covenant. Guy Ritchie as Jake Gyllenhaal. And a really great actor. Let me find out the other actor's name, because it wouldn't be right. Actually, that was one thing I liked about the movie, was the other actor. I did like Jake, though. I thought Jake did pretty good. Bradley easily could have played that role, too. But it would have been too much like Chris Kyle. Let me check something real quick. Dar Salim. So we're dealing with The Covenant. So it's a review that I'm doing. It's a 2023. I'm going to say, I don't know, I could be wrong on it. The Covenant is a war film by Guy Ritchie, who did Lock, Stock, Smoke and Barrels. Now Guy Ritchie's a UK director. And anyway, I don't know a whole lot about Guy Ritchie. I know that he likes to use words on the screen. So he likes to put words. And that was something I kind of liked and didn't like, because some of it I don't think was needed. And maybe someone doesn't know what an IED is, improvised explosive device, but he only put it in there and it was like, what? And then he did it again, and so we know that it's a Guy Ritchie film, because he did that in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I don't like where war films are headed. I like the war films coming out of the 1960s and 1970s, films, and even the 1980, like Apocalypse Now, Uncommon Valor. I liked, my favorite one is Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick is my favorite war film, is Full Metal Jacket. I do like Saving Private Ryan, which is Steven Spielberg. I like war films that focus on morality or the duality of man, like Full Metal Jacket. They usually will have like a philosophical point. Now, Black Hawk Down was playing today when I was cleaning house. And even that film being a little bit like a video game, and that film really wasn't like a video game. It had Sam Shepard in it. And I like Black Hawk Down. I think Black Hawk Down is pretty good. I thought that Covenant had a little bit of a video game problem in an aspect that a fight sequence, well, a war fight sequence in cinema sometimes can go a little too long. Now, I know that Steven Spielberg showed an incident in war that probably did go on for quite a bit of time. Was it the storming of the beach of Normandy, and that did take hours to go. You know, when they really stormed the beach in D-Day, it took a long time for them to do that. So that was realistic to me. I think that was a very realistic war sequence, and Steven Spielberg pulled it off really well. You know, choreographed it well. But The Covenant seemed like, you know, Guy Ritchie, I just felt like it was reflecting sometimes too much like a video game at times. Although I did like the movie. Ultimately, I gave it a 7 on Internet Movie Database, and I just rated it. But it's not my favorite war film. I did fall asleep in one part of it, and I woke up. I do probably need to rewatch it, but Dar Salim is like really good. He's a good actor. He did very well with Jake Gyllenhaal. I didn't think Jake overdid it or anything. It was a hard role. It reminded me a little bit of Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg, and that kind of bothered me a little bit because they're sliding down the mountainsides and stuff. And that was in Lone Survivor. They kind of coined that little thing where they slid down mountainsides and got hurt and everything. There's an injury in it, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character gets injured. He plays a lieutenant or something like that. And I got to figure. I just watched it, so I don't know what branch they're representing. I'm sure Army or Marines or something. And Jake has done other war films. He did Jarhead, which I thought was a very serious, a Swafford book, a book Matthew Swafford wrote called Jarhead of the same name. But The Covenant, it is ultimately a good movie. It's an important movie because it's showing the tail end, or it's a response to the tail end of the 20-year war in Afghan, Iraq, and Sunni Triangle. And the good thing about this movie, now I'm going to say it's an important movie, okay? I just think they may have made it a little too fancy, okay? But it's an important movie for one reason, okay? You got an American soldier working with a person from Afghan that has roots in Islam. So you have the Christian and the Islamic working side by side, and the Islam guy, or the guy from Afghan, helps him, saves his life. So it's two enemies, or possible enemies, working together on the same cause, on the same, you know, under the authority of the American soldier. And that was one thing that's established in the beginning, is that the authoritative character is the American soldier, and the one who he's called him boss, you know, the slave almost, is the Afghan soldier, who is the interpreter. Okay, he plays an interpreter. But he is underneath the authority of the American soldiers because the American army was there. They are present. They were very dangerous at the time. And they were dealing with IEDs. There is IEDs in it, but it's not like Hurt Locker or like Zero Dark 30 or anything like that. I think Catherine Bigelow's a better director, but ultimately I thought it was pretty good. Now, it is important because the two work together, so it's this kind of a peace movie about peace and the 20-year war coming to an end. But the interpreter aspect is interesting because he reminds the lieutenant, or he reminds the guy, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, that he is an interpreter and it's a certain type of person that you are. And then the covenant thing I never understood. The covenant meant like commitment or truth. It's not mentioned much in the movie, so I didn't understand. It was kind of a mystery. Like, why not talk about the covenant? What do they mean by the covenant? It's kind of a mystery why it's even called the covenant. But it's these two working together, and I thought it was kind of cool. The interpreter character, I think he calls him a translator, and he goes, "I'm not a translator, I'm an interpreter." You know, he interprets what's going on. Like, you know, he saw himself almost kind of like a director. That's what a director is in cinema and stuff, or whatever. A director is an interpreter. He interprets the script. So he's interpreting what was going around. And so he makes a decision to sacrifice his life and save the American soldier, kill all these other Afghan people that have got him captured. They knock him out, they shoot him. You know, he goes through this miserable pain, and he gets back to California, to Santa Clarita, California, decides to head back to Afghan, probably the Sunni Triangle or something similar to that, to find this interpreter and bring him back. They said something like there was 300 interpreters that were killed because they worked with American soldiers during the war. So it's an important aspect, it's an important film. I just thought it needed a more raw grittiness, and it had too much Hollywood glamour on it. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that, even though it was done by a UK director. Ultimately, I did like it, but I just felt there needed to be more grittiness. It didn't have the level of something like Apocalypse Now. It didn't have the level of Full Metal Jacket. It didn't have the level of Platoon or Saving Private Ryan, but it definitely is considered a war film. So it's something that I may go back and watch again. I may like it a little bit later. Sometimes I'm a little hard on war films, because war films is one of my favorite genres. And I consider all different types of stuff war films. Like, I consider Star Wars a war film. I consider Gladiator a war film, and, you know, so a lot of films are war films, even though they say that they're not. But this is definitely a war film. But, you know, I don't know. I just thought maybe another casting look on it. I am a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's really good. My favorite's Nightcrawler. I think his best work is Nightcrawler. But anyway, it's a good film. See it. I gave it a 7 out of 10.